Welcome to In Conversation with Evergreen London Consulting, where we discuss the integration between doing good and profitability. I'm Natasha Robert. I'm the founder of Evergreen London Consulting and your host. Today I have the pleasure of talking to Mark Sarfo, who is the co-founder of Nexus. Nexus helps scales entrepreneurs within the creative, media, digital, and tech industry, from startup to high growth, and he's got a lot of other role in the background. On the personal side, he enjoys cycling, doing mindfulness, and slowing down to be present. So I'm really lucky to have met Mark through a working group we had together, the BWIP group, and I even was invited to present on finance in one of his cohorts. Well, welcome, Mark, and thanks a lot for joining the conversation.
Thank you for having me, Natasha. And yeah, the shoe's on the other foot this time, isn't it? I think last time, as you said, we had you as one of the leads on our masterclass sessions for our HD startup program. So yeah, thank you for welcoming me this time.
Oh, it was great. I think I really enjoyed doing the training. It was great to see people fascinating about building. I think they had a lot of questions. Well, I could answer some, but not all of them. So, it was good learning for me too.
Cool.
All right, so let's start with what you're working currently. So what does that mean to be a co-founder of Nexus? What does that entail?
So we're in a, I guess, fast-paced world of working with startups and scale-ups. More recently, we started to shift focus and attention to scale-ups. Albeit, a lot of our members are still bringing fantastic ideas and working on how they can really nail their product market fit in this ever-changing global, non-global, if you're some leaders of this planet, but there's this global world and this global ecosystem that we live in. So yeah, I've been co-founder of Nexus since 2019. And yeah, Nexus was really born out of seeing the challenges that initially businesses within the creative industries had when it came to growing and scaling a viable business proposition. And then we broadened the focus to creative digital tech to be more encompassing. And yes, 6 years on, we're still here. We do some great work with some amazing founders. And yeah, it's a pleasure to work with both UK businesses and also overseas companies who move to the UK to start an innovative, viable and scalable business. And we do that by supporting them under a government contract, so helping applicants moving over on an Innovator visa.
So you help them on the visa application process also?
It's not actually the visa application itself. So we don't touch a visa application. What we are charged with doing under a government contract is to assess business plans of prospective founders who want to move over on an Innovator visa. So we assess them for innovation, viability, and scalability. And
for the government?
Absolutely, yes, for the government.
Oh, I didn't know that existed. That's quite an interesting concept. And how many did you manage to bring over or launch?
So we receive hundreds of applications a year. And I say between 2021 to 2023, we assessed over 1,000 applications. And you could be looking at approving probably 1 in 10.
Okay.
And then from that, we have probably 2 in every 4, 1 in every 2 that end up joining Nexus as a member. So as a member of Nexus, we help them in their journey to achieving, again, growth and scalability and just ensuring that their business is viable. Yes. Particularly if they're coming from overseas, you're hitting a new ecosystem, and starting a business even in your domestic country is difficult enough as it is, let alone when you don't know the local lay of the land. It's not just starting a business when you're moving over from overseas, it's also setting yourselves up with a home, maybe education for your children, utility bills. So there's so many other challenges that they have, let alone running a business. So
they come to settle in the UK and to launch their business.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So it's a program in the UK for that, for innovation.
yeah. It's managed through the Innovator visa.
Hmm.
So it's principally and purposefully for innovative founders with game-changing ideas
Okay.
that will create employment and yeah, just help to push innovation in the UK.
Wow. Wow, it's broader. And where do your funder come from? Any particular place or?
Yeah, it's quite global. We have quite a large contingent from China.
Okay.
And then you've also got America, Europe. So yeah, that includes lots of Germany. We've endorsed France, and also the UAE, Dubai, Pakistan, India,
Okay.
West Africa, so Nigeria, and also South Africa itself, Zimbabwe. So yeah, it's a
Very
global
broad.
program. It's a
Yeah, it's
global
very
program.
worldwide. Oh, sounds great. Well, so kind of that's a fascinating worldwide view of the thing. So is there one particular part of your job that you love the most?
Yeah, I think it's probably the knowledge share aspect. I think sometimes it may seem that we're in an echo chamber,
Mhm.
and you don't know what you don't know. So we might come across different ideas in our domestic environment and think it's brilliant, and quite often, they are. But then it's only when we engage with founders from overseas and we start to understand what domestic policy in their own countries has enabled them to achieve and to do, um, and also when the founders come together and engage
Mhm.
in that knowledge share, it's just a melting pot of different ideas that, yeah, it just fills you with immense pride that you're able to support and nurture these sorts of ideas in a setting which is also a safe environment for them to speak freely and to see what might happen through different collaborations. So yeah, I think that's probably the best aspect of what I find that we do at Nexus, fostering that knowledge share.
And how do you help them share? Do you do one-to-one team or is it a mix of both?
Yeah, so through our membership, we regularly engage with the members through whether it's online dialogue, through webinars. We also provide office hours.
Okay.
And as founders, as the senior management team, we also make ourselves available. So it's not a case that there's a single point of contact and they can't have that communication with the founding team. We do make ourselves available. We have quarterly dinners
Mhm.
where we bring in some of our product partners or professional partners
Yeah.
to share conversation over a particular subject matter. And again, it's just a safe environment for people to speak openly and freely in an intimate environment. And you know, those are great events. It's really good to, particularly post COVID, where everything was online. I'm still an advocate for online. It means you can get business done really quickly. You can turn around meetings really quickly.
Yeah.
But actually, it just enhances the enjoyment of in person that much more.
Yeah.
So yeah, those in person
It's good that
networks is
you're
brilliant.
providing the balance of virtual and face to face because I found that's one of the things sometimes I'm missing because I work from home most of the time.
Mm.
Is just having this interaction and this personal connection, which you can have it online, but you have to make a much stronger effort, um, and it's
Yeah,
less
yeah, I agree.
authentic.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
tough one. So the next one is moving into more sustainability side of it, and it's for me it's got a very broader meaning, as I was telling you when we discussed at the beginning. It's got more a purpose meaning than the restricted sustainability side of it.
Mm.
And I'm just interested to see how do you embed some sustainability in your work or in your personal life?
Yeah, so in work, well, as we said at the top of this call, when we had you lead one of the master classes, it was actually on a program that we operate called the Nexus ESG Startup Program. So we run two programs, one's for startups and another's for scale-ups. And on the startup program, we labeled it ESG. And it was labeled ESG so that one, there was an immediate understanding for perhaps novices who weren't familiar with what would sustainability look like. So ESG was that all-encompassing word that we gravitated towards.
Okay.
And ultimately, what we did with the program is that we would take business through an 8-week cycle of learning the fundamentals of how to run a startup business, but we embedded principles of ESG within the program. So the way we sought to look at it is, it's not a case of growing a company and then suddenly you're so big, you're looking for external investment, and then looking at your credentials, your approach to sustainability, your approach to the environment. But actually, if you start right from the beginning with the intention of growing a for good company in a commercial way, then you naturally retain those characteristics, those elements, rather than trying to shoehorn certain fundamentals into your business at a later date where it perhaps lacks authenticity. So
How does your cohort of funder react to that? Do they buy into it? Do they find it secondary?
It's I think for most, there's stuff that founders do automatically without recognizing that there's a conscious element to it. So where we can bring it to the fore, plus provide additional forms of education around maybe stuff that's in their blind spots, it's something that they don't push back on. It's not something that we force onto them, but it's more so, again, it's just showing where their blind spots are when it comes to how to start and run a good business. And a lot of it makes sense. You want to take care of the environment. It's kind of hard to push back and say you don't care about the environment, but rather than push it in a really salesy way or a guilty way, don't do this or else, we just help it make sense within the context of what it means for you and your business, and also for your staff, your colleagues, businesses around you, your customers. And yeah, we just help to make it make sense so it becomes second nature. And
so you help them
yeah,
embed them into the plan from the start.
yeah, and again, as long as it makes sense to them, then it's not something that we're necessarily selling. They've bought into it rather than feeling they have to embed it in case they don't get something later down the line. Again, it just makes sense. It makes sense to have given thought to, okay, when I'm scaling my business, diversity of opinions are beneficial rather than staying within perhaps an echo chamber. Again, I've referenced the environment. I've referenced how you can embed sustainable practices into your business, which could lead to cost savings, which have a positive byproduct. So again, it's just stuff that makes sense. And as long as people understand the rationale, then again, it's something that they can embed rather than feeling they have to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. And what would you say your definition of sustainability is?
I think it's almost something that is you have to really look at sustainability, I think, in the context that we live. If we were to ask someone what sustainability looks like maybe 100 years ago, it's very different to what it is today. Sustainability, when you're a founder, you have different challenges, which I won't say compromise your attitudes or sustainability, but you have to focus perhaps how you can achieve sustainability while still achieving commercial outcomes. Now, for me, sustainability shouldn't be compromised for the net benefit of just your bottom line, because the bottom line will come and go, whereas sustainability, it sits within, I believe, your moral fabric. So what and many of us, I guess, have noticed is when President Trump when he won the presidential race, how many large corporates bent the knee and kissed the ring to Donald Trump. And it happened very, very quickly, which for myself, it demonstrated a total lack of authenticity that perhaps I saw anyway.
Yeah.
You could see whether it's greenwashing or what the different sound bites were compared to what they actually did in practice. It became very transparent. And actually, I think we're in a better place now where at least we know where we stand with these big companies, and you can make a more informed decision. If they don't believe in something, they've made it very clear, very evident.
Yeah.
So that lack
There
of
is
authenticity shone through. Um,
good point.
I've also spoken to founders
Mhm.
because we've had to question our positioning
Okay.
and its relevance in this world going up against such a big beast. Where how can you remain authentic but make sure your messaging sits well
Mm.
and is something that can be absorbed by the audience you're aiming to help?
Yes.
So again, I find that many founders are going through this challenge of having to adopt or shift wording without shifting principles. And I think that's where I definitely sit at the moment. How can we ensure that what we do is translated well to the audience without compromising um,
Yeah.
our own beliefs, my own beliefs? So
That's a
yeah.
good point. I mean, that's a really good point in terms of saying it's quite transparent now who is really into sustainability for real and who was marketing it, because the power of it is less because it's less fashionable. So
Yeah.
it's quite yeah, it's quite obvious. It's yeah, it's quite a good shift, but as you say, a scary shift from my point of view, because in a way, it was a good way of being able to push it further with the big company. And now you have to dance around words. So, sustainability. I found that it's a small echo chamber, this word. That's why I always
Mm,
ask, is like, what does that mean for you? Because I found it's a really narrow-minded. Well, LinkedIn is full of sustainability echo chamber. And then
mm,
we end up talking to each other, and that's kind of where I've been doing the same as you're doing, which is looking at, is sustainability more purpose driven, or what you've said
mm.
about ethics. And then if you put your ethics in it, then it's authentic, versus where you just put a word and it's like, what does that mean for you? So yeah.
Yeah. Like um, I know just off the top of my head, speaking to one founder a couple of weeks ago, they're in the sustainability space when it comes to sustainable investments. What does sustainable investing mean? Because it will
Yeah.
mean different things to different people.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
and so you've got to be very clear on on your positioning. And in being clear in your position, if you're talking about impact, if you're talking about purpose, then how big is that market for you
Mm.
to then make what your proposition um, does? How do you make it viable? Is it big enough? Because you said that the echo chamber, it can seem as if we're in an echo chamber, and it's how do you reach the audiences who really do care? Um,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, when you're selling a product to and I'm talking about it from a commercial standpoint, if you're selling a product where the end user, if their life circumstances change, then there's going to be a conflict perhaps with what they perceive to be sustainable 1 year ago to where they sit today, depending on life situations, depending on if they've started a family, and depending on what stage of their career they are. So it's not easy, and I do think it's a continued conversation. You will have advocates who will go down totally one side, um, and I think it's very important for them to be present and they have that voice, because if they didn't, then I don't think that this would even be a conversation. Big business would just squash everything else.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an ongoing conversation that I myself am having, just to make sure that my views on purpose remain relevant, and I'm not just talking to a brick wall, because that does no one any favors.
Good, I like that. Staying relevant on purpose. It's a good idea. Would you be able to share a success story you've experienced, or an idea you've been a funder you've been working with?
Well, one that always comes to mind is I hope she doesn't mind me saying it. So there's a founder, her name is Hiroko Shimada, and her company is called I Am Scrap Queen. So iamscrapqueen.com. It's a platform that is soon to launch. She's done amazingly well. She was on, I think, our first cohort of our ESG program.
Okay.
And she definitely sits within the sustainability space when it comes to textiles and
Okay.
the reuse of textiles, and how much I've learned so much from her as to how much goes to landfill, how much isn't repurposed, and a huge opportunity that we have to make better use of reusing textiles, of being consciously aware of our own throwaway habits. So she's creating a marketplace that brings buyers and sellers together. Last year,
For used textile, or for clothes,
yeah,
or
yeah,
is it for the wholesale market or the consumer market?
it's for, I want to say both. I want to say
Okay.
she straddles both. It's definitely got a strong B2C arm to it. Last year, she undertook a couple of workshops, one with Liverpool John Moores, I believe, one also with London College of Fashion. So I think what I found really rewarding with her approach is that she didn't stay within her own echo chamber. And particularly for young people now, it's important to understand the world that they live in. So rather than preaching this is what you should do, what are they doing in their world? So by engaging with that younger demographic, that again, that knowledge share was taking place to make sure that what she puts out to market is relevant. Because again, sometimes as founders, you can only sometimes put out what you think you know through your life experiences, and you've got your product market fit for perhaps your generation. Whereas actually, if it's truly going to be sustainable, then it's got to be viable for the years to come. And it won't be viable for the years to come unless you're engaging with the next generation. So, you know, I think the work that she did there in particular will ensure that when she launches the site, which is going to be imminent, it will be a really strong product market fit. She's really taken her time to understand her proposition, and also you might be passionate around a particular project, but then turning it into a business is something totally different. So her ability to upskill herself, to build a confidence, to turn up, to even run the workshops, it's admirable. I don't think you need to be, people point to likes of, Zuckerberg and Sam Altman, etc. And, people doing amazing things in AI. And it's all very relevant, but, it's not easy running a business. Anyone's running a business, I can attest to making money and losing money. It's not easy in this space. So I love to shine the light and again, seeing founders come through and take on board your learnings and your guidance, and also go out to learn stuff for themselves and then bring it to fruition by bringing a product to market. I think is brilliant. It's always going to excite me.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds like an exciting launch. When is she launching?
It should be I think we're Q2 now. So yeah, it should be Q2 this year. So yeah, the website's iamscrapqueen.com and the company name is Moon Studio. So she's on Instagram under, I believe, I Am Scrap Queen, and also Moon Studio Designs. So she's also a textile designer herself.
It's good because it sounds really fully circular and a good option to manage. I mean, I feel ashamed every time I see all the waste we do on, I try to do the right thing by recycling my clothes and buying secondhand, but still the amount of cheap fashion is coming out. It's really tricky, heartbreaking.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I think this is exactly why you need different propositions like what I've just described. There are obviously others in the market as well,
Yeah.
and I think the fact that she's also being backed by Innovate UK, that they've
Okay.
seen something in her proposition which is
Yeah.
more than just a straightforward
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah. It's
So
good.
yeah, she's doing some amazing things there.
Fascinating. The last question I ask kind of my guest is about what would you advise your 20 years old self to do differently, feel differently, or behave differently?
Yeah, my friends call me the thinker sometimes. So you got me thinking. It's a brilliant question, and one that I can ponder for a long time. What would I advise my 20-year-old self to do or to change? Um, on the one hand, I would say nothing because every decision that we make leads us to here. I wouldn't be having this conversation with you had I not done the things I did. There's definitely mistakes along the way and
Yeah.
things I'd probably say in a in a different version of this life. I'd like to have this played out. Um, I would. I think that there's amazing scope to knowing what I know now, be even more purposeful in doing good, which
Mm.
also has commercial benefits. Um, Money doesn't make the world go round, the world that we live in, and in order to become viable, I think we need to also be aware of decisions that we're making that can generate and lead to commercial outcomes for whatever proposition we're looking at in the world of business. So I'd definitely like to think I would advise myself to how can you do good whilst making it viable? So creating positive impact and making it sustainable.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes it's like we've been late to market when it comes to having conversations around sustainability, um, around uh, embracing diverse voices, um, around how do we really care for our environment around us. Um,
Mm.
so yeah, I think being more purpose led at an earlier stage would be something that I'll definitely tap myself on the shoulder and be mindful about. Um,
Be good. I think so I always ask 20 years old because I've got a 20 years old son. And
no,
I always kind of look at him and saying in terms of saying he's just entering adulthood, if you
mm,
look at it, and you're like, okay, if I had one advice, what would I give him? He's not listening, but you know what I mean. So that's kind of why, yeah, it's good to think purpose earlier on would be a good advice. Do you think you would have heard it at 20?
I probably would have heard it, but I may not have really taken it on board. It might have
Yeah.
hit me a bit later, but at an
Mm.
earlier stage, that makes sense. But I think just the way you phrased the question around your son, I think if I was to speak to a 20-year-old now, what advice would I give them? It would be not to be afraid, like be daring, um, not to take yourself too seriously.
Mm.
The world is a big place, and we're we're a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of this big earth. So don't take yourself too seriously, and be conscious that whenever you're in conversation and you're trying to convince or you think you need something from someone, recognize your value.
Mhm.
So I don't think that it's through experience, and age, you come to recognize at a certain point what your value is. And that's
Mm.
probably where confidence comes. For some, it comes earlier than others. But I always say to uh, I guess younger people, they need you as much as you need them. So even if you're on an interview, sometimes you've got these work interview processes that last 10 interviews long, and it's ridiculous. It's not needed, but they need you as much as you need them. You've got amazing talent and knowledge that will benefit others and an organization. So know your worth. And I think probably what I see at the moment is that, we spoke about it at the top of this call around people's attention spans.
Yes.
We live in a world now where everything is so fast that people want everything digestible so quickly. It creates, again, when we spoke about meetings face to face or doing it online, the face to face element, I genuinely think that there's a first for people to want to engage in a social environment, because we've really pushed down. There's so much happening in the AI space, in the digital space. So with that, because attention spans are really condensed, if you've got something to say if you've got something to say, say it, because it will really hit home. A lot of people now, they're not speaking freely, they're not speaking openly, because we're getting hit so much with just digital content. So I'd definitely say to a younger version of me or a young person today is look at how you can embrace non-technological mediums, because that will help you stand out more. Be bored, look outside the window, think creatively about things. Don't rely on ChatGPT solely to have an idea, because that's not an original idea. So take time out to put your phone down and think, be bored, be creative, because that's where genius happens for me. That's what I think. Creativity comes through boredom.
Getting bored, slowing down. Yeah, it's very powerful.
Just being bombarded, and it's also a dangerous space to be when we're becoming different.
Yes.
And taking it back to your topic around sustainability, if you get bored or if you get bombarded with messages of just stop oil, or you got to save the rainforest, or reuse, recycle, whatever the narrative might be, when it's bombarded at you, you switch off, and then you become indifferent, you do nothing. So yeah, be careful not to get caught out by being bombarded by different messaging.
Yes, that's a good point. Great stuff. Well, thanks a lot for your time. Thanks for an open discussion and conversation. Learned a lot. We'll put all the details of the funder you mentioned. And yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. It's brilliant to be on your podcast, and